Okay, articles or articoli, which means we are on the third rung of our pyramid. So we're making some progress. This is good. Okay, articles. What is an article? Un articolo is the tiny word that comes before a noun, such as the and a or an in English. For example, I have the book, you have a book, and this is an apple. Okay, so these are the articles right here. Here's a definite article, an indefinite, and an indefinite article. How many types of articles are there? There are two main types of articles, definite and indefinite. How many articles are there in Italian? In English, we only have one definite article, the, and two indefinite articles, a and an. But in Italian, we have several of each type because it has to agree with the noun it's referring to. So there's only 3 in English, but there's actually 11 articles in Italian. Okay. So we're gonna head on into it and figure out when to use each type of article. Singular definite articles. What are definite articles? In Italian, the definite articles, meaning it's referring to a specific object or objects, can be singular or plural. What are the singular definite articles? The singular definite articles are as follows. Okay, so for a masculine singular noun, we'd use il. For feminine singular nouns, we use la. Feminine and masculine singular nouns starting with a vowel take the L apostrophe. Okay, an L apostrophe, and then the word that starts with a vowel. Masculine singular nouns starting with S plus a consonant, Z, GN, SC, PN, PS, and X, all take lo as the definite article. Okay, now these aren't super common, so this is probably going to be the one that you use the least. So don't, try not to get too overwhelmed by having to memorize all of these. Okay, it's mostly the words that are hard to pronounce with one of the other articles. They put a lo there. Okay, it'll make a little bit more sense as I move forward. Okay, so for example, c'è il treno. There's the train. Okay, so we use il because treno is a masculine singular noun. C'è la macchina. There's the car. Okay, we're using la because macchina is a feminine singular noun. C'è l'uomo or c'è l'enoteca. There's the man or the wine shop. Okay, so here we have an L plus apostrophe, okay, like that, because the noun is starting with a vowel. Okay, so L apostrophe and then uomo, L apostrophe enoteca. And then finally we have c'è lo studio and c'è lo zaino. There's the studio and there's the backpack. Okay, so these are two of these examples up here. Okay, so like I said, they aren't as common as these other types of nouns. So for these, you'd use lo studio, lo zaino. Okay, plural definite articles. What are the plural definite articles? The plural definite articles are as follows. So for masculine plural nouns, il becomes I. Okay, il becomes I, or the letter I. For feminine plural nouns, la becomes le. Okay, la becomes le. Masculine plural nouns starting with S plus consonant, Z, GN, SC, PN, PS, or X, the lo becomes li. Okay, lo becomes li. So here are examples. Ci sono I treni. There are the trains. Okay, we're using I, or the letter I in English, because treni is a masculine plural noun. Okay, I treni. Ci sono le macchine. Okay, now in the previous slide we had macchina, so this becomes plural. So a plural feminine noun takes le. Okay, and you can also see that the endings here match up. So I treni, le macchine. There are the cars. Ci sono gli studi and gli zaini. There are the studios or the backpacks. Okay, so again, the lo changes into li when they become plural. Okay, so gli studi, gli zaini. And remember, just a note here, c'è, there is, becomes ci sono, there are, when the following noun is plural. Okay, so that's why we used c'è on the previous slide, and now we have ci sono, there are. How many forms of definite articles are there? There are 4 singular forms and 3 plural forms, which make up 7 in total. When to use definite articles. So when do you need to use a definite article in Italian? Okay, so there are many exceptions, but here are some general guidelines to follow. So needless to say, you're going to use an article more often than you're not going to use a definite article. Okay, so these are just some of the example or some of the circumstances that you'd use a definite article. I'll just go over them real quick. So when talking about a specific noun, when referring to a person with a title, when talking about clothes and parts of the body, when there is a reflexive verb used before the noun, with dates and times, when referring to general categories and abstract nouns like friendship, peace, or love, when referring to something previously talked about, with most possessive adjectives, there are some exceptions, with names of languages, with names of countries, continents, and regions, except after di, in, or with the verb andare, and with geographical features like lakes, rivers, large islands, volcanoes, and mountain ranges. Okay, so when in doubt, use a definite article. You're probably more likely to have to use it than to not use it. So, for example, questo è il cane di Giuseppe. This is Giuseppe's dog. So in this instance, we're talking about a specific noun, okay? Specific noun. Il signor Rossi è un avvocato. Mr. Rossi is a lawyer. So this one, we're using it because it's a person with a title. Ti fa male la schiena? Does your back hurt? Okay, we're using the definite article because we're talking about a body part. Gli piacciono le macchine. He likes cars. Okay, in this instance, we're talking about a general category of cars. And la camicia è fatta in Italia. The shirt was made in Italy. Okay, in this one, we're talking about clothing. So we'd use it. Okay, so like I said, if you're wondering if you're going to use it or not, just probably err on the side of using it. And if not, then, it's okay to, to make a mistake. Indefinite articles. What are the indefinite articles? So in Italian, the indefinite articles, meaning it's referring to an indefinite or unspecified object, are as follows. Okay, so for a masculine noun, we use un. For a feminine noun, we use una. For a feminine noun starting with a vowel, we use un plus an apostrophe. Okay, un plus an apostrophe. And for masculine nouns starting with an S plus consonant, Z, GN, SC, PN, PS, or X, we use uno. Okay, uno. That's kind of reminiscent of the definite article lo. Okay, it ends with an O. Okay, so for example, we have our same examples once more. C'è un treno. There's a train. C'è un treno because it is a masculine noun. It's a masculine singular noun because you don't use these with plural nouns. Okay, so it makes it a little bit easier. C'è una macchina. There's a car. Okay, once again, feminine noun. C'è un'enoteca. There's a wine shop. Okay, un plus apostrophe because enoteca starts with a vowel. And c'è uno studio or uno zaino. There's a studio or backpack. Okay, so we have uno, again ending with an O because it's starting with one of these strange little consonants here. Okay, studio and zaino. How many forms of indefinite articles are there? Well, there's 4 forms. When in doubt, stick with un and una, okay, un and una, as they are the most common forms, okay, because most of the nouns are going to be masculine or feminine rather than, all these guys here. So you should learn all 4 of them, obviously, but if you're in doubt, then just go with un or una and you're more likely to be correct. Okay, partitive articles. What the heck is a partitive article? L'articolo partitivo is an article that is used to say some or any of something, i.e., an indefinite amount. It can be used in both plural and, it can be used with both plural and singular nouns. How is the partitive article formed? The partitive article is formed by adding d to the definite article. It literally means of the. Okay, so I have a little chart here. So for the definite article, which we just covered, we have il, la, l apostrophe, lo, I, le, and li. When you're adding d plus these, it becomes del, della, del, dello, dei, delle, and degli. Are there any other words used to mean some? Okay, so you can use the indefinite adjectives alcune or alcuni to mean some, but this can only be used with countable plural nouns. Okay, for example, piatti, amici, forchette, sedie. There's many, many more, but these are just some examples here. Okay, or number 2, you can use the indefinite adjectives qualche, adjective qualche to mean some, but this can only be used with countable singular nouns. Okay, so instead of piatti, we have piatto, just one plate. Instead of amici, we have amico, one friend, forchetta, one fork, and sedia, one chair. Okay, so it's countable singular nouns. Or number 3, you can use the phrase un po' di to mean a little bit of, but this can only be used with uncountable singular nouns such as milk, cheese, wine, and butter. Okay, latte, formaggio, vino e burro. So you're probably wondering, so what the heck does this all mean? Okay, so we'll give you some examples here to make it a little bit clearer. Okay, so on this side, we have our examples, D plus an article. Okay, so we're going to be using these guys here. And on this side, we're going to be using one of these other ways, okay, an alternative way. So for the first one, do you want some wine? Vuoi del vino? Okay, del vino. Or, because it's an uncountable noun, wine, you can say vuoi un po' di vino? Vuoi un po' di vino? Okay, so we're using number 3 here. I have some fruit. Ho della frutta. Or, because it's an uncountable noun, we could say ho un po' di frutta. Okay, just like up here, un po' di frutta. She buys some cookies. Lei compra dei biscotti. Okay, so we have dei, okay, which is, where is it? Up here. Okay, because biscotti is plural. Okay, masculine plural, biscotti, because it ends in an I there. So we could say dei, or because it's a countable plural noun, we can say lei compra alcuni biscotti, or we can use it in the singular to mean the exact same thing and say qualche biscotto. Okay, it just becomes singular here, but it means the exact same thing. Okay, so qualche, some, alcuni, some. The only difference is that in this case, we're using it as a plural noun, and in this case, we're using it as a singular noun. There are some chairs. Ci sono delle sedie. Okay, delle, because sedie is feminine plural. Or because it's a countable plural noun, we can say ci sono alcune sedie. Alcune sedie. Okay? Or we can make it singular and say qualche sedia. Qualche sedia. We have some friends. Abbiamo degli amici. Okay, degli amici, because it is masculine plural and it starts with a vowel. Okay, so we're using degli, okay. Or because it's a countable plural noun, we can say noi abbiamo alcuni amici. Alcuni amici, by keeping it plural. Or we can use it in the singular and say qualche amico. Okay, qualche amico. Oops. Okay, clear as mud. Just maybe just study this a bit, and eventually will become clear. And if you're confused, just you can just stick with these guys up here. Once you get a hang of the which definite article to use with the noun, and by adding the D plus a definite article, okay, you can use these for now. And then once you become more comfortable with it, you can use one of these, okay, whichever one is most appropriate for the noun that you're talking about. How to use articles in a sentence. Okay, so in English, we have subject, verb, article, noun. For example, I am a boy. Okay, a would be the article. You buy the books, the being the article, and she has a friend. Okay, a being the article. In Italian, we have soggetto più verbo più articolo più sostantivo. Okay, so once again, io sono un ragazzo. Un is the article. Tu compri I libri. Okay, I is the article. And lei ha un'amica. Un being the article, okay, because amica starts with a vowel and it's feminine. Okay, we are done with articles. Okay, we're on to quiz number 4, module 2.3, articles. There's only 5 questions in this quiz, so I'll go ahead and read each question aloud and all the possible answers, and then I'll pause for a few moments to let you try and figure out the right answer before revealing what the right answer is. If you need more time, just go ahead and pause the video. All right, let's get started. Number 1. How many forms of definite articles, meaning the, are there in Italian? Choose only one best answer. A, 3, B, 4, or C, 7. Okay, the correct answer is 7. There are 7 forms of the definite article in Italian, 4 singular forms and 3 plural forms. They are as follows. Singular is il, la, elle apostrofo, and lo. The plural forms are I, lei, and li. Number 2, how many forms of indefinite articles, meaning a or an, are there in Italian? Choose only one best answer. A, 2, B, 3, or C, 4. Okay, the correct answer is C, 4. There are 4 forms of the indefinite article in Italian. There are 4 singular forms and no plural forms. They are as follows: un, una, un apostrofo, and uno. Number 3, which of the following indefinite articles can be used with a masculine noun? Choose all answers that apply. A, un, B, una, C, un apostrofo, or D, uno. Okay, the correct answers are A, un, and D, uno. Only un and uno can be used with masculine nouns. Un is used for most masculine nouns, including those starting with a vowel. Uno is only used for masculine nouns starting with specific letter combinations, such as S and a consonant, Z, GN, SC, PN, PS, and X. Una is only for feminine nouns starting with a consonant, and un apostrofo is only for feminine nouns starting with a vowel. Okay, number 4. Which of the following definite articles can be used with a masculine noun? Choose all answers that apply. A, il, B, I, C, la, D, lei, E, lo, F, li, and G, le apostrofo. Okay, so the correct answers were A, B, E, F, and G. Okay, so the following 4 forms can only be used with masculine nouns: il and I, lo and li. The following 2 forms can only be used with feminine nouns: la and lei. The le apostrofo is used for both masculine and feminine singular nouns starting with a vowel. Okay, and just to recap here, we have il is used for most masculine singular nouns starting with a consonant. I is used for most masculine plural nouns starting with a consonant. Lo is only used for masculine singular nouns starting with specific letter combinations, such as S plus a consonant, Z, GN, SC, PN, PS, and X. Li is only used for masculine plural nouns starting with specific letter combinations such as S plus consonant, Z, GN, SC, PN, PS, and X. La is only for feminine singular nouns starting with a consonant. Lei is only for feminine plural nouns starting with a consonant. And le apostrofo is only for both masculine and feminine singular nouns starting with a vowel. Okay, I know that's a lot to take in there. But you can go ahead and pause the video if you want to reread this, and I'll also have it at the end of the video. Okay, and number 5, which of the following can be used to say some? Choose all answers that apply. A, D plus the definite article, which would form del, della, del apostrofo, dello, dei, delle, and degli. B, alcune or alcuni. C, qualche. And D, un po' di. Okay, so all of these are correct. All of these can mean some, however, they're used with different types of nouns. D plus a definite article forms the partitive article. It can be used with plural or singular nouns. For example, del latte, della torta, degli spaghetti, dei amici. Alcune or alcuni is used with countable plural nouns. For example, piatti, amici, forchette, and sedie. Qualche is used with countable singular nouns. For example, piatto, amico, forchetta, sedia. And un po' di is used with uncountable singular nouns like milk, cheese, wine, and butter. For example, latte, formaggio, vino, and burro. Okay, how did you do? If there's any that you missed, you can go ahead and retake this quiz as many times as you need. Or if you're comfortable with your answers, you can just go ahead and reread the explanations here if you want to. I'm just going to quickly scroll over them, and you can just pause the video if you want to reread any of them. Okay, great job.